What's going on, fellas? It's another Boogie production. Hey, I want to salute y'all for subscribing to my channel, and I want to thank y'all for liking my videos. And shout out to the Dime Game Division. Let's rock and roll. When a woman truly wants to manipulate a man, you got to understand, man, there's several factors involved when it comes to this manipulation thing with women. First you got to start here. When a woman's in her prime, a lot of dudes think that a woman is in her prime, I don't know, between the ages of 18 and 22 or something like that, 23. And I disagree. A woman is truly in her prime when her mind and her body is fully developed at the same time. When they parallel to each other. You know what I'm saying? You can have a 21-year-old girlfriend that, her body is banging, but her mind not right. She's not educated. She doesn't know how to treat a man and cater to a man. She doesn't know the needs of a man. To me, you kind of just wasting your time. You just got a 21-year-old girl that just play Fortnite all day or whatever, and hang out on social media. But what does she do for you as a man? Does she enhance whatever you have to offer? And a lot of times the answer is no. I would say around the age of 27, 28, 29, this is when a woman truly understands who she is. You dig what I'm saying? But the manipulation comes in play when this happens. When a woman understands her body and what it does for men, her femininity, her body, everything like that, and the reaction that she gets from men, it does something to her mind, obviously. A woman with a nice let's say a woman with a nice butt, I'll put it like that. She's out in public, she see all the men looking. She see the men breaking their neck to look. She see the men that's trying to holler at her, offering her money, and everything else that comes with that. This is usually when a woman has an epiphany, like, okay, I don't even have to do much to get anything out of these guys. A lot of men just want to pay for my time, because the reality is a lot of men just want to be around feminine women. Why you think men go to strip clubs? They just want to be around feminine women. And they'll tip the strippers, they'll pay for whatever. It is what it is. Been seeing it my whole life. So when a woman has that epiphany, you really got to be careful, man. The only guys that woman is going to respect at that time in her prime is guys that she like. Every other guy is a potential trick, and a resource, period, man. And I talk about attraction a lot on my channel, because, dog, if a woman ain't feeling you like that, if she really don't like you like that, you're just not going to get the best out of her, man. And that's been my experience. And that's why I talk about it. A lot of situations with women can be avoided if guys stop thinking with the small head and start thinking with the big head. Use your brain is what I'm saying. You dig? So the manipulation piece, a lot of guys are the architect of that. They invite these women into their life, offer them things, whatever, and that's fine. And then when a woman take advantage of it, it don't go his way, now he's screaming Bloody Mary. Knowing daggone well the girl really wasn't feeling you like that, man. You know what I mean? So you just got to be real with yourself, man, and be honest with yourself about these things, man. Definitely be careful around a woman in her prime when her mind and her body is clicking on all cylinders. Every man is a potential trick to her. You dig? It just is what it is. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? It's like, think about Michael Jordan, right? Let me give you this example. We all like sports. Michael Jordan was Rookie of the Year. He was winning dunk contests. You know, he was scoring a lot of points. Michael Jordan didn't win the championship until his mind developed. He always had the athleticism, but his mind developed and he learned the game. You know, he was able to see the whole floor. Every position, Jordan knew exactly what to do. You know, he know how to flow. He know the flow of the game. He know the energy of the game. You know what I mean? He knew how to motivate himself. That was his prime. You know what I'm saying? So Jordan came in the league in 84. He didn't win his first championship till 91. You know, it took all of that time for him to develop his mind. He always had the game. He could score the ball from day one. You know, heck, back in his college days. But that was his prime, when his mind and his body, they met at the same time and they started clicking on all cylinders. And it's the same thing for women, man. You know, that's why you got to be careful. You know, I'm going to say this and I'm going to stop this video. You know, guys better get their mind right. Y'all have not seen the worst of women. You know, I'm going to say that one more time. Y'all haven't even seen the worst of women. So if you can't handle this, stay out the street and get on the sidewalk. That's what they made them for. You know, you got to get out here with some energy. You know what I mean? Your energy got to say facts. A woman got to look in your eyes and see facts. You know, it comes down to the man, is all I'm saying. You know, you got the power. The man is in charge. You in charge of your life. That's attractive. A lot of guys don't even understand the power in that. When you can control yourself, control your life, that's attractive. But I'm not going to get into that right now. Shout out to the Dime Game Division. Peace.